Hi, guys! Today we'll be recapping a story called The Closet Fan Princess. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! The night is dark, but the moonlight shines upon two figures. A maiden with pale lavender hair, skin as white as snow, and lips as delicate as pink rose stands before a man. The man in front of her is someone she has longed for. To her, he is like a baby cat, and he is finally standing before her. The man with raven black hair and eyes of sapphire blue is Kylo. A resounding slap shatters the serene calm of the night. The perpetrator? None other than the young maiden. Yet she's as confused as anyone. Her hand moves against her will, striking the young man's face not once, not twice, but 3 times. In an alternate world, she recalls replying to a social media post that asked what she would do if she were in her favorite character story. Without hesitation, she wrote a wildly unhinged paragraph detailing her elaborate plan: kidnapping. Yeah, the title wasn't lying when they said this is a fan. An unhinged fan. However, when her favorite character finally stands before her, she's hitting him non-stop. This abruptly stops when Kylo grabs her hand, making her blush. Her words and thoughts are in conflict. She voices her annoyance at his filthy hands, yet her mind screams otherwise. Though she has reincarnated as this maiden, she does not have control over her body. Upon realization of this bizarre predicament, she faints in the arms of her favorite character, Kylo. Contrary to the maiden's feelings, Kylo is far from amused, expressing his grave dismay. The maiden, Princess Agnes Saint, may have had many good qualities, but Kylo believes her defining trait is her instability. He deems her pathetic and unruly, along with the rest of the royal family for neglecting her. 2 men in royal uniforms arrive and escort the princess away at Kylo's command. As the guards carry her off, Kylo once again reveals his distress, unable to remain silent about the troublesome situation. Is Agnes Saint really that bad, or is something more terrible going on? Agnes wakes up in the palace, panicking as she recalls the previous night's events. Fortunately, she has regained both consciousness and control of her actions. However, a pressing problem remains: the fact that she assaulted her favorite character immediately after reincarnating. She remembers being distraught at the moment of her death, as she was on her way home from Kylo's birthday cafe. To make matters worse, a goddess informed her that her death wasn't even meant to happen. She begged to be sent back, but her body was already decaying, making it impossible for the goddess to comply. As compensation, she was reincarnated into the world of her choice. However, she failed to specify which person she wanted to be. She reincarnated as Agnes Saint, the villainess in the story Infinite Splash. In the novel, she explains, Agnes is obsessed with Raymond Spencer, the protagonist, going so far as to make nasty remarks about others to elevate Raymond's reputation. To make matters worse, she reincarnated just as she was bad-mouthing and hurting Kylo. In short, Agnes is the nemesis of Kylo, and both utterly despise one another. 2 days after her reincarnation, Agnes slowly regains control of her body, and memories from her previous life begin to surface. However, she finds these memories largely irrelevant. Though she wishes to make amends for the incident she caused the other day, her maids seem to misunderstand her intentions. She clarifies her intention, but still feels bitter of people judging her for something she hasn't even done yet. Girl, you've been known to have a displeasing personality, and one day you're just a saint? Saint Agnes? Apparently, the reason why people don't want Agnes to mess with the leader of the Black Knights is because they're afraid it would lead to chaos, as the Black Knights are known for. As opposed to the White Knights, which consist of skilled nobles, Blue Knights, which are fair and just, and the Red Knights, filled with first-class wizards. In her previous life, Agnes favored Kylo because she sympathized with him. She tried to promote his character, but people simply refused to embrace a character with an unpleasant personality. However, an incident changed the fans' perception of Kylo. He sacrificed himself to save the hero, Raymond Spencer. Kylo had always longed to be a hero, but no matter what he did, he could never surpass Raymond. Thus, in a final act of heroism, he sacrificed himself, hoping to achieve heroism in death. This filled Agnes with joy, as her favorite character had finally gained recognition. Tragically, she died on her way home from celebrating her beloved Kylo's birthday, thus motivating the newly reincarnated Agnes to change the fate of Kylo. As Agnes quickly strides to Kylo's office to meet him, she sees him restrained. The two white knights beside him are like puppies wagging their tails, waiting for praise. But this picture obviously fails to elicit joy from her. I mean, if it was the previous Agnes, it would elicit joy. After Agnes shushes the two white knights away, a defeated Kylo resigns to his fate and accepts his supposed punishment. This throws Agnes off as she never intends to harm him in any way. Agnes refuses all forms of punishment Kylo can think of to himself, but his next proposal immediately leaves Agnes dumbfounded. Kylo's final proposal is that he surrenders his knight uniform, but a deluded Agnes pictures a hunky Kylo stripping in front of her. Girl, you're definitely losing your mind, and I love it. Kylo, disturbed by the scene before him, reiterates that he will leave the knights if Agnes wills it. Agnes, still lost in paradise, responds by saying they should forget about the events that happened the other night. As she leaves, a confused Kylo can't seem to grasp the princess's intentions, but is ultimately glad to have seen her vulnerable side. A few days later, a troubled Agnes is lying on her bed trying to organize her thoughts. She feels anxious as she thinks that what transpired in the original story in her previous life is surely going to unfold in this life as well. She confirms it when she's about to be dismissed as a princess due to her past actions prior to her reincarnation. Standing before the Emperor, Alexander Saint, is his daughter, Agnes Saint, after she accepts his summon request. Though behind the Emperor's regal front is a doting father who is overly concerned of his daughter. However, as Emperor, he is to do what is best for the situation, and so his best solution is to expel Agnes until her reputation settles down. In her previous life, this event was a joyous moment for the fans. This time, however, was different. Despite acknowledging her father's struggles, she absolutely could not accept this punishment. Instead, she corners her father to reconsider. This is just evil. Her poor dad. Just as Agnes thinks she is going to be doing tedious and laborious work, the Emperor decides that she is going to be assigned as the mage of the Black Knights. Upon Agnes's realization, her eyes go wide open, brimming with childlike wonder. Shortly thereafter, she insists this decision be set in motion, ultimately confusing her father. Apparently, Agnes, like her older brother Damien, the Crown Prince, is already a member of the White Knights. Membership in the White Knights is customary for the Saint family, as most possess immense magical power. However, the princess finds missions too bothersome, so she never participates. Now that she's going to be sent to the Black Knights, she is overjoyed. The rumors spread quickly like wildfire. At the banquet, the nobles talk about His Majesty's decision to place his daughter, Agnes Saint, in the Black Knights. Some find this decision justifiable given her prior actions. However, others clearly consider this too harsh. Sirius Melville of the White Knights finds it distasteful to speak ill of others, especially women. Hugo Rodian, a fellow White Knight standing beside him, disagrees. After this exchange, Sirius promptly leaves, stating Hugo has no respect for women. Hugo retorts, calling Sirius a hypocrite since he is actually a flirt. The valiant vice captain of the White Knights, Diana Lennox, arrives, asking where Sirius is. Accompanying her is Hazel Devon, another member of the White Knights and the female protagonist of the original story. Hugo responds that Sirius left because he refuses to listen to gossip about Princess Agnes. Diana expresses her agreement with Sirius's stance. Then Saint Liliana, another member of the White Knights, appears and curiously inquires about their conversation, to which Hugo immediately replies. Saint Liliana, the second female protagonist of the original story, was originally a commoner. However, a revelation on a random morning changed everything. After curing nobles that were demonized, she gained a reputation and changed her life. Behind her virtuous front is a woman obsessed with power. She believes that men are simple creatures, including Hugo, who is unsuspecting of her true nature. Hugo applauds the transfer of Agnes because it favors Liliana. However, Liliana tries to play this off and redirects the conversation to Devon in order to provoke her. The leader of the White Knights, Raymond Spencer, arrives, acknowledging everyone's presence. Liliana immediately fawns over Raymond and throws shade at Devon, but quickly retracts her statement. However, every member present, aside from Hugo, can see right through her. Meanwhile, in Agnes's room, Daisy Rodian, Agnes's maid and sister of Hugo, worries about her mistress. After all, Agnes will be under the direct command of her nemesis, Kylo, and Daisy fears he will seek revenge. But Agnes reassures Daisy, explaining that the Black Knights can't do anything to her. Shortly, Agnes's brother, the Crown Prince, Damien Saint, enters the room unannounced. The Emperor expresses his concern about his daughter Agnes to her brother. He feels there is something wrong with her, so he wants his son to check up on her. Damien initially deems this unnecessary, but eventually gives in to his father's request. Damien enters Agnes's room and asks Daisy to leave, as he wishes to speak with his sister in private. After Daisy leaves, Damien immediately confronts Agnes, demanding she refrains from her schemes and be an obedient member of the Black Knights. Agnes, frustrated with her brother, is able to compose herself and accede to his request, which leaves Damien momentarily confused. This reaction irritates Agnes, as she's never experienced this feeling before, never having a brother in her previous life. Though she wants to retaliate, she keeps her cool, as she has an important event upcoming tomorrow. The maids don Agnes in the Black Knight's uniform and are disturbed by how surprisingly well it suits her. They both know she hates the Black Knights more than anything in the world. Contrary to their belief, however, this Agnes is delighted with the uniform. Agnes asks them for their opinion, but the two hesitate, as they might be in trouble if they share their honest opinion. Understanding their discomfort, Agnes explains that she's only doing this for the betterment of the Imperial family, which shocks the two maids even more. In the Black Knight's commander's office, Kylo Grey and his subordinate await the arrival of Agnes. His subordinate expresses his skepticism and even puts a bet that Agnes won't show up. Hearing this, Kylo recalls the meeting he had with the Emperor. A few days ago, the Emperor called Kylo Grey before him. He expresses his worry about his daughter and tells Kylo that Agnes, despite her displeasing personality, is just a fragile, lonely child. The Emperor adds that Agnes experienced the pain of losing two important figures, her mother and Nanny. Oh, no wonder why she became like who she was. Kylo anticipated that what the king would impose is to not mistreat his daughter while she's in his jurisdiction. However, what Kylo heard next caught him by surprise, as the Emperor wishes for Kylo to treat Agnes as a subordinate. After this recollection, Kylo expresses his doubts to his subordinate. However, he is cut short upon the arrival of Agnes Saint. Kylo Grey does not at all believe that Agnes Saint understands the predicament she is in right now. He explains that the Emperor has tasked him to treat her like a subordinate for as long as she wears the uniform. He haughtily asks Agnes if she is ready to submit to him. Agnes responds with firm resolve and expects to be guided accordingly. However, Kylo doesn't believe her and continues to test her. Though he acknowledges that something is indeed strange with Agnes, as she never used to abandon her pride so easily. Unbeknownst to Kylo, Agnes's mind is fangirling to the core. She internally compliments him, thirsting for his looks and physique, and even appreciates his writing style. She loves almost everything about him. His personality is less appealing, but even that is passable because he's like a cat. Girl, you're such a lost cause. Kylo sees Agnes squirming, which makes him firmly believe that she's scheming. After that, Kylo gives Agnes her first assignment, making Agnes excited as this could be an opportunity for a date with Kylo. Unfortunately for Agnes, she is to patrol a recovering area where a war transpired. Kylo further provokes Agnes as he mentions that everything she knows how to do is dress up. To make matters worse, he only issues her a small pistol to carry. Agnes is hurt by this, not by the fact that Kylo is sending her on a potentially dangerous mission, but rather because she thought that she could finally go on a date with him. Though in pain, Agnes accepts the mission and swiftly exits the room. Even his subordinate finds this mission absurd and asks Kylo if Agnes is going to be okay. However, Kylo dismisses this and responds that if she can't do this, then she will just ask her father for forgiveness. Well, that is just a facade. In truth, Kylo and his team have already surveyed the area, but it is not announced for the sole purpose of this mission. Though the area still bears the gruesome aftermath of war, it's now safe. If it were not for the Emperor's orders, Kylo would not do something like this. However, just outside his office, an unexpected person heard their conversation. Sirius Melville. Sirius immediately reports what he heard to Raymond, claiming that Kylo is insane for sending Agnes alone to an unexamined area and only giving her a small pistol. However, Raymond disagrees with Sirius, as he's sure that Kylo wouldn't do something that stupid. Raymond describes Kylo as a person who relentlessly aims for power, and putting the princess in harm's way is counterproductive. But to assure Sirius, Raymond volunteers to go aid Agnes himself. After Sirius leaves, Raymond expresses his contempt towards Agnes. He was finally relieved that he wouldn't have to look after her, but dragging him to this mess makes him believe that she did this deliberately. If only Agnes was gone, he can do anything he wishes to do. Boy, you're going to regret that. A Black Knight member, Victor Craven, arrives in the commander's office announcing to Kylo Grey that he will finish clearing Area A-15, where Kylo just sent Agnes. Kylo, upset by this news, swiftly stands and leaves to follow Agnes. Meanwhile, in Area 15, Agnes arrives, surprising the two guards. After presenting the written order to the guards, they open the gate. Agnes is not fazed by this mission since she knows that Kylo would not put her in harm. Moreover, she believes the area has already been surveyed. Agnes finds it adorable that Kylo deliberately did this just to scare her. While surveying, Agnes sees the devastating state of the area. She ponders how unfair it is for Kylo to receive no praise while being in the front lines, as opposed to Raymond, who just commanded but received all the praise. Agnes then decides that she will act scared once she returns to boost Kylo's self-esteem. After a while, Agnes sees a pitch-black figure, but this just turns out to be a cat. She wonders if this is a resident cat since it doesn't seem to be afraid of humans. She notices that the cat is injured, so she then heals it. As Agnes is petting the cat, she senses an ominous aura behind her. She turns her back and sees a pitch-black hound. As the hound jumps towards her, Kylo arrives to save the day. Kylo asks Agnes if she's okay and explains that he did not intend to hurt her. But this does not matter because Agnes is totally elated just seeing Kylo. She even hugs the handkerchief that Kylo just lent her rather than wiping the blood on her face. Agnes thinks that this is just finally going to be the perfect opportunity for them to have a date. But just when she's suggesting the idea, Raymond arrives. He is getting on my nerves, really. Raymond arrives with an annoyed look. He insults Kylo as he dismounts his horse. He then approaches Agnes and lends her his handkerchief, to which she uses aggressively to wipe her face. Seeing this triggers Kylo's inferiority complex. He assumes the reason why Agnes didn't use his handkerchief is because she probably thought that his is filthy and can't bring herself to use it. This worsens when Raymond asks Agnes to go inside the carriage, and she has an upset look. Kylo interprets this as her being upset because she missed the chance of being with Raymond. Don't overthink, Kylo. Raymond gives Kylo a warning, stating that the Imperial family are not tools. This pisses Kylo off and calls Raymond presumptuous. Kylo explains that he was ordered by the Emperor, and yet Raymond is here meddling with his affairs. Raymond leaves, but Kylo's harboring resentment towards him is clear as day. Thinking that Raymond is no different than how he perceives Kylo. Someone who does everything just to attain power, which includes winning over Agnes to reach the top. In the carriage, a vexed Agnes stares intently at the silent Raymond. Upon closer look, Agnes acknowledges Raymond's attractive features, but prefers someone who is like Kylo. Agnes knows that she still has to play in character, so she asks Raymond why he came. Raymond, annoyed by the leading question, thinks that Agnes wants him to respond that he's worried. Instead, he asks Agnes to refrain from being a troublesome daughter. Additionally, he wants her to stop being obsessed with him and be a good example as a member of the royal family. Agnes, anticipating his response, finally accedes. Raymond, momentarily confused by her response, expresses his content and tells her to be faithful to her words. She then leaves the carriage shortly after. She's clever. For a second, Raymond wonders whether Agnes was being genuine or not, but quickly dismisses this thought as it is the first time Raymond feels a weight off his shoulders. In the Crown Prince's palace, Raymond arrives, reporting everything that has happened. Damien claims that he has heard everything and finally understands why his sister Agnes hates the Black Knights. However, what bothers Damien most is Agnes giving up her love for Raymond. Raymond expresses that the way she said it didn't seem trustworthy, and because of her nature, it will become a hurdle to the Imperial family's path. To the people of the Empire, Agnes is an arrogant and spoiled princess. But to Damien, the crown prince and Agnes's older brother, she's a burden. Damien had hoped that she would marry early, even hoping that Raymond, commander of the White Knights and his closest friend, would be a perfect match. Yeah, how about no thanks? Everyone knows how Agnes's love for Raymond is unrequited, but that doesn't mean Raymond can just criticize her so openly in front of him. He's still her brother, after all, so it's only natural for him to be protective, even in the slightest. The following day, Agnes returns to the palace, filthy and covered in blood from her first mission. Seeing this, her maids, Chloe and Emma, immediately begin to talk about Kylo. How could he actually put the princess in danger? Internally, Agnes tears up. This is definitely not what she expected. She had hoped to put Kylo in a good light, but it seems the opposite is happening, and everyone praises Raymond as the hero. Suddenly, an idea comes to her mind. Faking a broken heart, she tells the maids never to mention Raymond in front of her again. This would be enough to let them know she's moving on. The maids are instantly intrigued. However, when they ask her more about it, she refuses to answer, fueling their curiosity. She then dismisses them, hoping that they'd spread the word. And they do, except a totally new story is spun. Word goes around that Lord Raymond Spencer has broken the princess's heart, but the rumors became exaggerated, saying he verbally abused her, making her give up on him completely. Such rumors spread far and wide, even reaching the emperor's ears. How dare someone hurt his daughter? And a man of the Spencer family at that. He never was a fan of the Spencers to begin with, especially the Duke of Spencer, who was his wife's first love. But if this heartbreak means that Agnes would finally move on from Raymond, then the emperor guesses it's a blessing in disguise. Meanwhile, on a fine day, Kylo catches wind of the rumor, and he doesn't look too pleased. Oh, why get pissed off if Agnes means nothing to you? Kylo loathes Raymond Spencer. He's someone who grew up with everything handed to him on a silver platter. Yet privileged as he is, he looks down on people like Kylo who had to hustle and climb their way up to society's ranks. Raymond is meant to protect the royal family, yet he takes advantage of the princess's love and devotion for him. The nerve of him to verbally abuse Agnes? Kylo fumes just thinking about it. But why show his true colors now? Could it be he got mad about the near accident and lashed out on Agnes? But that near accident was Kylo's fault. Weighing all that, he instantly becomes guilty for playing a part in Agnes's tears. If the Emperor finds out, he'd be in big trouble too. He really needs to apologize to Agnes. But the thing is, he doesn't know how to speak to women. All of a sudden, Agnes enters his office, bundled up in a coat. Without thinking, he immediately blurts out an apology, sincerity laced in his voice. Well, that's one way to do it, I guess. Amused, Agnes plays along, telling him the next time an accident happens, she'll be sure to punish him. The punishment she has in mind? Being together with her. We know he's hot and attractive, Agnes, but get a grip of yourself. As the two discuss the events after the accident and the details of their next mission, rather a lack thereof, Kylo realizes Agnes hasn't formally met the members of the Black Knights yet. Wasting no time, he leads her to their headquarters, introducing her to the team. Agnes meets Victor Craven and Anna Montrose, and she is left under their care as Kylo tells them to resume their training. As he leaves, Agnes feels sad as she wants to spend more time with him. A tap on her shoulder snaps Agnes out of her thoughts. Turning around, she finds Anna holding up a black cat. It's the same cat she saved on her first mission. In the past, people with black hair and red eyes used to be persecuted in fear of being zombie hybrids. It so happens that Anna shares those features, and Agnes wonders if her timid nature is because of a rough past. Anna expresses gratitude for saving Coco, her cat, albeit in a low voice. Agnes smiles in response, but she can't help but be bothered by the items in her peripheral vision. What exactly are those? The items Agnes is curious about are none other than Victor and Anna's weapons. Anna enthusiastically gives her a background of her weapon, highlighting its ability to grind a monster's bones instantly. Victor and Anna then offer to accompany her to Huangsong Weapon Factory to have a weapon made for her. Agnes agrees, excited for what's to come. The Empire is known for its development of magical engineering. It all began when the first emperor imbued his mana into a purple magic stone, creating a mana stone. With the stone, the first emperor awakened his powers, and with a single light from the mana stone, he was able to seal all the demons underground. Now, as the demons and monsters crawl their way back to the surface, the people fashion weapons out of mana stones to fight them off. But the people still hope that one day, the first Emperor's powers would be reborn into a member of the Imperial family to seal the monsters again. I'm calling it as early as now. I think it'll be Agnes who possesses such power. Arriving at the shop, Agnes chooses a monostone for her weapon. However, no stone matches her wavelength. The shopkeeper then brings out a special stone reserved for the Imperial Guards. This piques Agnes's curiosity. Monostone weapons can only harm demons, so how is it suitable for the Imperial Guards who need to defend the royal family from humans too? The shopkeeper explains that nowadays, combining magical and mundane elements is common in weaponry, resulting in weapons that can be used on both humans and demons alike. Agnes's inquisitive nature impresses the shopkeeper. She truly is different from what the rumors make her out to be. As Agnes holds the monostone, it becomes warm to her touch, indicating it's a perfect match to her wavelength. With a spark in her eye, she tells the shopkeeper to fashion her a gun as her weapon. Not long after, Agnes begins to train with her new weapon, getting better with each passing day. But all this training is making her miss Kylo. Agnes heads back to the palace and she sees the Order of the White Knights gathering in their dedicated space. Curious, she hides behind a tree, eavesdropping on their conversation. The saintess, Liliana, seems to be talking about the Emperor's decision of transferring Agnes to the Black Knights. However, aside from Hugo, nobody seems to be indulging her. Diana chides her, suggesting she stop talking about the princess. After all, they never know who might overhear them. At Diana's disapproval of her gossiping, Liliana tears up, insinuating that Diana has prejudice towards her simply because she's not of noble blood. Liliana's behavior shocks Agnes. Who would have thought that the saintess was hiding such a devious personality? I knew Miss Goody Two-Shoes had some dirt on her. Sirius becomes frustrated at Liliana's scheming, but Hugo reprimands him, defending the saintess without fail. Ugh, wake up, Hugo. Don't let your admiration for her blind you. Suddenly, Hazel Devon arrives after her recent mission with the commander. Liliana, sly as ever, brings up the topic of the rumors surrounding Raymond, eager to know Hazel's thoughts about it. But Hazel doesn't bite her bait. Instead, she reacts as if implying that Liliana believes the rumors. This leaves Liliana scrambling to defend herself. Of course, she doesn't think Raymond is capable of those things. A playful glint is seen in Hazel's eyes. They don't know that for sure. After all, Raymond despises women who bother him just as much as he despises demons. Oof, man down. That was a direct hit to Liliana. Humiliated, Liliana excuses herself, pretending to feel chilly already. The others begin to disperse as well, making Agnes follow suit. However, Sirius notices an intruder and he immediately takes action. Although Agnes may have had a change of heart already, she can't respond lightly to a sword being pointed at her. Ashamed, Sirius lowers his blade and apologizes. Could she have heard the White Knight's conversation? A sad expression flashes on her face. Indeed, she heard everything. But she doesn't want Sirius to tell the others. After all, she doesn't want to cause any trouble. Being alone with Agnes, Sirius takes the opportunity to voice out his worry about the rumors of Raymond verbally abusing her, recounting each rumor in detail. This alarms Agnes as no such thing happened. How did the rumors become so far-fetched? Panicking, she clears it up. But when Sirius asks her what exactly Raymond said, she declines to answer and excuses herself shortly. Unbeknownst to her, her vagueness and odd behavior only makes Sirius doubt Raymond more. Meanwhile, Victor and Anna meet Kylo, updating him on Agnes's progress in training. Kylo, however, is more concerned if Agnes has been bullying them. Hearing this, Anna defends Agnes, vouching for her good nature towards people and animals, and how she even listened to her monster stories too, something that Kylo can hardly believe. Give her a bit of credit, Kylo. Then again, Victor and Anna aren't one to mingle with anyone who doesn't catch their interest, so their perception of Agnes can't be a misunderstanding. As he reflects on Agnes, a beautiful smiling image of her comes to his mind. However, he pushes those thoughts away, refusing to think more about her. Back to business, he has news he wants Victor and Anna to relay to Agnes. She's assigned a new mission along with all other Black Knight members. Oh, we are starting a flashback from Sirius's childhood. At a young age, Sirius realized that behind Agnes's arrogance and violence was a neglected child longing for attention. Losing her mother and nanny at a young age took a toll on Agnes, and aside from her father and brother, she had nobody. Sirius was no fool not to recognize that the princess was lonely. which is why he can't understand how someone like Raymond, who's known her since childhood, could do something so cruel. But come to think of it, wasn't the incident the same day he approached Raymond to ensure Agnes's safety? It then hits Sirius. It's all his fault. If only he didn't approach Raymond, then Agnes wouldn't have gone through such an awful experience. You and Kylo are two peas in a pod. In the palace, Agnes and the Emperor have breakfast together. The Emperor looks at his daughter softly, worry etched in his gaze. Does she look thinner? It must have been all her dedication to her training. He's so proud of how mature Agnes is becoming. But little does he know that the only reason Agnes looks so serious is because she's dying to see Kylo already. After breakfast, Agnes skips her way to join the Black Knights for their upcoming mission. On her way, she encounters the White Knights preparing for their own mission. She grumbles as she recalls how easy the White Knights have it. They only travel to near destinations, while the Black Knights are assigned to patrol far-flung areas. Jeez, talk about unfair. The White Knights getting convenient assignments must be because of Raymond, and speaking of Raymond, Agnes just happens to run into him. The two stand face to face, with Raymond looking at Agnes gently as if he had something to say. But Agnes has other priorities. Kylo. Period. He's the only acceptable priority. She turns her back on Raymond, walking off to join Kylo and the team. When she arrives, Kylo gives everyone a briefing before the mission. They're headed to SP3, and because it's a large area, they'd be accompanied by soldiers, especially since monsters could attack in numbers. Hearing this, Agnes leans into Kylo's direction, flirtatiously suggesting that they should stay close together if that's the case. However, Kylo misinterprets her flirty suggestion as a threat, thinking the Emperor will have his head if Agnes is put in danger. Agnes beckons him to hurry. They have to begin their journey already. But dread and annoyance overcome Kylo. How bothersome for him to be stuck guarding the princess. The Black Knights stop to camp in the forest for the night while Kylo sets off to patrol the area. Agnes looks around, unsure of what to do since it's her first time camping. But seeing everyone do their own thing, she's determined to contribute too. Pulling her sleeves up, she decides to whip up something tasty for everyone. When Kylo returns, he's shocked to find all of them feasting. Weren't they supposed to have jerky and soup for dinner? And since when did Agnes and the soldiers become friends? Everything about this is absurd, yet he resigns and joins them, guessing this is better than having their morale drop. The Black Knights continue their journey the following morning, marching for a full day to reach a shelter near SP3. Meanwhile, the villagers dread the princess's arrival, fearful of her ill temper and bad nature. Oh, come on, you haven't even met her yet! As if on cue, the Black Knights arrive at the village, and among them, Princess Agnes. The village chief welcomes them, and the children all gape at Agnes's beauty. Dismounting from her horse, Agnes immediately asks the children to show her where the sick people are. When it comes to demon diseases, one demonizes a person, darkening their skin, losing their sanity, and making them attack humans. Only the saintess can purify those who have been demonized. The other disease, however, is an incurable one that leaves people's skin and body to actively decay as they live. Only high-ranking mages, the mages of light, can heal victims of this disease. And it just so happens that Agnes is the youngest existing mage of light. Determined, she sets off to heal the people of SP3, hoping to prove herself to Kylo. Meanwhile, Anna reports an urgent issue. The water supply to the village has stopped completely, leaving only water contaminated with demon blood to flow into their pipes. To make matters worse, all nearby water sources are also contaminated. Kylo looks defeated by the situation. That is, until he remembers Agnes's purification abilities. Problem is, Kylo isn't sure she'll cooperate. Suddenly, he learns from Victor that Agnes went off to see the sick. Alarmed, he immediately bolts to her. What are her intentions with the sick? Or worse, what if she catches the disease? Kylo, go take a chill pill! Arriving in the building where the sick are kept, Kylo fears for the worst. However, the sight before him leaves him at a loss for words. Agnes has healed them all. Everyone in the room praises Agnes, but she redirects her praise and gratitude to Kylo, claiming she was only following his orders. This makes the room erupt in cheer as they proclaim Agnes and Kylo as their heroes. Getting back to business, Kylo informs Agnes of the situation. He needs her to purify the contaminated water sources. Of course, she doesn't have to do it now. She must be tired from performing a large-scale healing. Ever the opportunist, Agnes uses this as a chance to get closer to him. Pretending to be dizzy, she leans her whole body into him, holding his arm for support. If possible, it would be to her comfort if he let her stay like that as they make their way to the river. What she doesn't expect is that Kylo would carry her the entire way. Her hard work has definitely paid off. They reach the contaminated river, and the situation is far worse than they anticipate. Seeing how Agnes didn't protest to him carrying her, she must be too tired. Thus, Kylo presumes she's in no condition to purify the river. Agnes agrees, and she suggests that she purify only what's needed first. Once she's rested, then they can try to tackle the source. The soldiers haul in barrels of water, placing them in front of Agnes. In one try, she manages to purify the water barrels all at once. When Kylo approaches her, she thinks it's another opportunity to have physical contact, but suddenly she collapses for real, her body limp from exhaustion. We have a modern-day scene here. Before she was reincarnated into this novel, the female lead was often criticized for her illegitimate background. It was in Kylo's character that she found comfort and motivation to keep going. For her, she thinks she can do anything if it's for Kylo. Back to our current story, Agnes slowly blinks awake. Still in disbelief she collapsed earlier. She wakes up to Kylo waiting beside her, and she realizes he personally took care of her while she was unconscious. Seeing how Agnes is awake now, Kylo excuses himself from her tent, leaving her alone to get some proper rest. But outside, he rethinks his emotions, reflecting on earlier events. It turns out Agnes had called out his name while she was asleep, and for some reason, this leaves Kylo's heartstrings in a knot. Just admit you like her, Kylo. The following day, Agnes comes out of her tent just in time as Kylo arrives. Her radiant smile upon catching sight of him makes Kylo freeze. There's just something about her that makes him feel things. The Black Knights set off on their mission with two objectives: search the area and return the villagers safely to their homes. To do this, they separate into two teams: Victor Craven and Anna Montrose, Kylo Grey and Agnes Saint. Before they embark on their separate missions, Kylo informs Agnes that she'll be riding with him for today. His reasoning? Agnes's horse isn't a war horse, and it could be dangerous for them both when they're on the fields. Right, sure, Kylo. Hearing this, Agnes doesn't object at all. In fact, it's more than anything she's ever wanted. Arriving in the forest, the two prepare themselves to search for monsters. Kylo offers his hand to aid Agnes as she dismounts. But when she flashes him that smile again, Kylo turns away, not wanting to meet her gaze. As they begin their search, Kylo's mind is in turmoil, and it's because of Agnes. He tries to get to the bottom of why she called out his name. When he finally figures it out, he concludes his very presence must be a nightmare to Agnes. Bro, why are you putting yourself down so much? Be a bit more positive, will you? Suddenly, Kylo is alerted to Agnes calling out his attention. Are there perhaps landmines in the area? Because she thinks she just stepped on one. Kylo rushes to keep her in place, but it's too late. Agnes accidentally moves, activating the mines. Streaks of black and purple magic surround them, and they soon find themselves in a walled prison. It turns out, Agnes stepped on a mine-type trap made by demons to separate their prey, sometimes their enemies. Luckily, it only lasts for a few minutes, ranging from about 20 to 30 minutes at most. Reassured that no demons and monsters will appear within the trap, Agnes breathes a sigh of relief. She then realizes something. She's alone with Kylo. Pulling the same stunt as yesterday, she asks to lean into him, pretending to feel exhausted from using her magic too much these past few days. Hearing her reason, he's barely in a position to refuse, so he allows her to do so. But when she nestles herself in between his legs and leans into his chest, Kylo is left wide-eyed and blushing profusely. Agnes, you've really outdone yourself this time. Agnes leans her head against Kylo's chest, and just like that, Kylo's entire brain short-circuits. He tries to remind himself why he hates her, but is that flowers he smells, or is it just her? Are all women's skin this soft, this warm? Focus, man! Remember Gray's people! Remember Raymond Spencer! Stop getting distracted! Before his thoughts spiral any further, Agnes apologizes for losing her strength. Meanwhile, in her head, she's busy marveling at Kylo's rock-hard muscles. Priorities, people! Finally, back on higher ground, out of that nerve-wracking trap, they both let out a sigh of relief. But Agnes? Oh, she's secretly sulking. The moment was way too short. She turns to Kylo, asking if he's okay and promising to watch her step next time. She even offers a hand to him. Kylo takes a second to process, appalled at the princess's kind gesture. But before he can fully react, he warns her about the monsters lurking ahead. He barely gets his words out before Agnes, ever the quick thinker, interrupts with a teasing remark, acting as if he's suggesting he carry her to avoid stepping on another mine. Amused, she even insists that conserving her strength for purifying the river is more important. Kylo is done. Once more, he misinterprets her advances, thinking she doesn't see him as a man, let alone as a human. And since that's the case, it's better if he carries her on his back instead. Without waiting for a response, he lifts Agnes onto his back. She clings tightly around his neck, her grip firm and secure. His frustration only deepens. She has always treated him like nothing more than a tool, an object to be used when convenient, and yet for some reason, the thought is bothering him more than usual. They finally reach the river and assess the contamination. The putrid stench of decay fills the air, and Agnes is hesitant as it is far more overwhelming than yesterday's task. So she makes a choice. For the first time, she channels the power of the magic stone. With a precise strike, she directs its energy toward the edge of the river. A powerful splash erupts, forcing them to shield their eyes. And when they look again, the water is crystal clear. Even they can't believe what just happened. Before they can fully process their success, Anna Montrose and Victor Craven arrive, grinning from ear to ear. Battlefield hunts? Fun? These guys are built differently. Kylo quickly gets to business, asking if they found the contamination source. Anna explains that the surviving monsters had gathered their dead, forming an altar for a resurrection ritual. And the blood? It's been flowing straight into the river. With that grim revelation, Kylo commends them for their work and ensures the mines in the village are cleared before heading back. But little do they know, someone is stealing the very mines they collected. Back in the village, the people express their gratitude and blessings to the Black Knights and soldiers, thanking them for restoring their homes. On the way back to the Imperial grounds, the soldiers are relieved that camping is finally over. They notice the White Knights returning from a mission as well. Raymond, Spencer, and Saint Liliana step forward, but the moment Liliana sees Kylo, she flinches in surprise. His cold stare unsettles her, and she instinctively hides behind Hugo. As she tries to brush off the awkward moment, Agnes steps in, cutting her off with an icy reminder that she has no permission to speak. The atmosphere shifts. Agnes, unwavering, states that Imperial law dictates that those of lower status should not address those of higher rank first. Liliana stumbles to defend herself, clinging to the Emperor's decree that princesses in the Black Knight uniform should be treated as equals. But Agnes doesn't hesitate. Yes, that rule exists, but Kylo Grey is the exception. Disregarding such a command would be a stain on the Empire's honor. And to make matters worse, someone so ignorant of Imperial law is somehow a knight? Not surprising, considering who trained her. A not-so-subtle jab at Raymond. Whispers ripple through the soldiers. Some feel the saint was at fault. But was Agnes too harsh? And why was Spencer caught up in the criticism when he wasn't even involved? To Spencer, though, the situation is crystal clear. Agnes is retaliating. This is about him rejecting her feelings. She's ruining his reputation, twisting everything against him. With a sigh, he orders a swift return to the castle. Back at the Imperial Palace, Agnes reports her safe return to the Emperor. For a while, she is confined under the Emperor's overprotection, with even the maids away on leave. Days later, the maids return, eager for details as they tend to Agnes's bath, but they've already caught wind of the juiciest gossip. Rumor has it Agnes humiliated Saint Liliana at the gate, with all the blame falling on Lord Spencer. Even funnier, whispers that the princess belongs to him. Oh, the maids just can't get enough. The maids, noticing Agnes's unease, ask if she's okay after seeing Spencer for the first time since that day. The memory hits, and Agnes recalls that she'd pointed out that a subordinate's mistakes reflect their superior's carelessness. Agnes doesn't bother hiding her discomfort. Every glance at Spencer feels like a blade to her heart. The maids share a silent look. Agnes sighs, frustrated with herself for still feeling this way. She quickly shuts down the topic about Spencer. The maids, unfazed, silently agree and shift the conversation to the social gathering near SP3 that has everyone talking. Word is, with a single gesture, Agnes purified mountains, healed the sick, and saved the village, making the Black Knights the talk of the town. Even the maids can't help but think how cool Agnes is. Agnes can't help but stare in disbelief, unsure when she could have said and did something like that. After the Black Knights' help, the villagers who once held prejudice against them now speak of their heroism. Their stories grow larger with every telling, painting the princess as a radiant figure who purified the river with a single word. When the maids ask Agnes about it, she's amused but finds the exaggeration a bit much. Soon, the rumors catch fire among the nobility, especially the sons looking to marry into the royal family. Word spreads that the princess not only completed her mission flawlessly, but also broke up with Raymond Spencer, making her more available than ever. This news sets Raymond's father, Duke Spencer, into a frenzy. He storms into Raymond's room, accusing him of ruining a golden opportunity to marry Agnes and secure the royal connection. But Raymond stands firm, refusing to marry her. As Raymond reflects on his past, memories flood back. Times when Agnes was more like a little sister to him, tagging along, making promises, and causing trouble. But things changed after a fateful rainy day. He couldn't stop blaming her for not being there for his mother in her final moments. Despite his attempts to push Agnes away, she never gave up on him, and he knows she never will. Meanwhile, Agnes busies herself with her own plans. After returning from her mission, she's eager to capture Kylo's cool moments with her new camera. Her thoughts linger on Kylo, wondering where he's gone again despite the lack of missions. She misses him. Cut to Kylo, lost in his own dark thoughts about his past and family. He recalls cruel memories of his mother and step-siblings. Kylo arrives at a gathering arranged by his father and step-family, the air thick with tension. His father greets him, but Kylo's response is curt, barely concealing his coldness as he asks why he's been summoned. Looks like the family reunion isn't exactly full of warm fuzzies. Kylo returns to the Grey estate, greeted by his father, Viscount Austin Grey, and stepmother Julia. The warmth in his father's voice feels repulsive, but Kylo plays along. As he sits, old memories surface. His mother, once a town beauty with ambitions of marrying into nobility, found herself trapped in a nightmare. The Viscount denied Kylo as his son, and the Viscountess treated him like a stain on their family. Abuse from both his mother and half-brothers became his daily reality. Eventually, his mother snapped and attempted to assassinate the Viscountess, only to be dragged out and beaten to death. That was the day Kylo ran away. Survival meant anything: stealing, fighting, enduring beatings, even nearly starving. Then, when a mercenary took pity on him and offered him a chance, he grabbed it. Only when Kylo rose to be one of the Black Knights did the Viscount summon him back, clearly to exploit his newfound status. Kylo knew it was all a game. For now, he would play along, but if power ever landed in his hands, every single person who forced him down this path would pay. Snapping back to the present, the Viscount casually brings up Agnes, assuming Kylo must be groveling before her for the family's benefit. Kylo agrees without hesitation. Pleased, the Viscount announces his plans. His two eldest sons, Benjamin and Bradley, will soon join the Knights, and Kylo should introduce them to the princess. The brothers are thrilled, already fantasizing about meeting her. Kylo, however, is blindsided. The Viscount sees no need to explain and orders him to comply, reminding him that he should be grateful for the Grey name. Kylo swallows his frustration. Now is not the time. He nods, and the Viscount is satisfied. Their youngest sister Molly wants to be in on the action, but the Viscountess dismisses her. The Viscount, however, is focused on the bigger picture: the princess's re-entry into high society. This is their golden opportunity. If one of their sons can secure a connection with her, they might become an imperial in-law. Kylo freezes. The thought of Agnes smiling up at him, calling him leader, flashes through his mind. Move along, folks, nothing to see here. Except a man in deep, deep denial. He abruptly stops himself. This is ridiculous, but he needs to be sure. Has Agnes really made her return to society? The Viscount confirms it smugly, having already attended 2 ladies' social club gatherings. Meanwhile, in the palace, Agnes prepares for her debut back into high society. With her reputation growing, it's time to re-establish connections. She selects the perfect venue, a sponsorship party hosted by Marchioness Melville, an event filled with noblewomen eager to support a worthy cause. The goal? To solidify an image they'll admire. She even picks a fresh, youthful outfit. But there's a problem. She has no good sponsorship items. Jewelry feels too extravagant. Then an idea strikes. If she's going to impress, why not make a bold move? She orders a message to be sent to the Crown Prince's palace. It's time to empty out some pockets. Social politics, family drama, and Kylo's unresolved emotions? High society is about to get interesting. Kylo pokes at his food, lost in thought. He wonders why he had reacted that way. He's endured humiliation all his life, so why did this situation bother him? Then, like a bolt of lightning, it hits him. Agnes! He recalls how she stood by him, chastising others for twisting the Emperor's orders. It had been nice. For a brief moment, he almost believed she was an angel. And then his mind takes a dark turn. His stepbrother standing beside Agnes. The mere thought is repulsive. What if it were Raymond instead? The perfect, noble, and elegant Raymond Spencer effortlessly fitting beside her. His stomach churns. The idea of Agnes being linked to someone like Raymond, no, to anyone at all, becomes unbearable for Kylo. But that's not possessiveness, of course. He's just concerned about her well-being. Yeah, that's it. This is what we call Olympic-level denial. Give him a gold medal. Meanwhile, back at the palace, Agnes wanders into the library. Suddenly, her brother Damien interrupts her, unamused. He questions her presence, but Agnes counters. Why is he so sensitive when he's done the same? Unbothered, he blames government work for his stress. She ignores the excuse and admits she came for advice. Stunned, Damien blinks. Agnes explains her dilemma. She needs an item to donate for the Marchioness of Melville's sponsorship party. Jewelry, while a safe bet, feels too predictable. It's laughable, really. A child would at least smile at a shiny jewel, but seasoned, noble ladies? Not a chance. From the shelf, Damien pulls out an antique poetry collection by the famous poet Grandel, a coveted item among noblewomen with a taste for culture. The Marchioness, known for her wisdom, would certainly appreciate such a choice. Agnes, impressed, thanks him, only to freeze when Damien casually mentions that Raymond Spencer will likely be pleased as well. Cue Agnes immediately regretting this entire conversation. Before she can leave, Damien invites her for tea. Sensing danger, Agnes tries to bolt, but she's too late. The announcement rings out. Raymond Spencer has arrived. Panic mode activated. She attempts a graceful retreat, making a half-baked excuse about party preparations, but she finds herself face-to-face with Raymond. They lock eyes, but without a word, Agnes slips right past him. No greeting, no acknowledgement, just pure, unfiltered, royal-level pettiness. And folks, that's what we call a power move. Raymond, for once, is left speechless, and Damien, ever the instigator, takes the opportunity to ask him if he truly hates Agnes that much. Normally, Raymond would snap back with a quick affirmation, but this time, he doesn't. Instead, his thoughts drift. Her quiet and hurt expression somehow reminds him of his mother. For years, he swore he would never become like his father and never let himself be trapped in emotions. And yet, this unease gnaws at him. This annoying concern won't go away. Ah, yes, the classic, I don't care about her. But I do. But I don't. Wait, why do I care? Realization. Stay tuned, it only gets messier from here. At the Marquess of Melville's estate, two sons stand in stark contrast. Sirius, the charismatic heir of the White Knights, and Rubius, the illegitimate son serving in the Black Knights. The Marquess's decision to register Rubius as an adopted son shattered her marriage, forcing her husband into exile while she maintained the family's status in the capital. Agnes arrives at the party, unaccompanied and poised, drawing hushed whispers from the guests. Oh no, a self-sufficient woman? Scandalous! But she remains unbothered, charming the Marquess with her elegance. She knows regaining her reputation requires calculated efforts, especially in front of the Marquess, who is clearly testing her. Madame Norris unwittingly treats Agnes like a child, but instead of correcting her, Agnes leans into it, invoking nostalgia about motherly care. Her Operation Charming Youngest Daughter works like a spell, melting hearts instantly. They don't even realize they're being played. Beautiful. The mood shifts when Viscountess Grey arrives, fawning over her sons, except Kylo. Agnes, uninterested in her doting speech about Benjamin and Bradley, pointedly asks about Kylo. The Viscountess falters, then launches into a slanderous tale, unaware that her disdain has crossed a line. The Marquess slams the table, ordering the Viscountess out. A critical hit! The party ends in chaos, and the Marquess retreats, lamenting her social downfall. But then Agnes sends a letter adorned with a yellow rose, symbolizing unwavering love. It's a small but deeply meaningful gesture. For the first time, the Marquess feels comforted, realizing that despite everything, someone finally acknowledges her struggles. Agnes didn't just win over the nobles, she won an ally. Agnes leaves the Marquess's estate, fuming. How dare that fool slander Kylo? Even worse, some people might actually believe her nonsense. No worries, Agnes has already ensured that anyone who dares to spread rumors will be dealt with. A polite way of saying, don't even think about it. Back home, her maids greet her with suspicious enthusiasm. Turns out the Crown Prince has chosen a prom partner, Diana Lennox. That means Agnes needs to find her own partner, and fast. At Kylo's headquarters, Agnes tries to act composed but internally wants to throw herself at him. The self-control is admirable, Princess. She asks about her next mission, only to find out she's been benched because of the prom. Ugh, being a princess really gets in the way sometimes. She slyly suggests Kylo attend, but he dodges the question. Then it hits her. Kylo avoids the prom because of her past self's elitist views. Ouch! He bitterly offers to come if she wants a dirty scoundrel to entertain the crowd. Critical damage taken. Agnes, sulky, quickly changes the subject and asks him to be with her on all future missions. Kylo, caught off guard, barely hides a blush before kicking her out. As Agnes leaves, she worries she messed things up. Meanwhile, Kylo broods. His father wants one of his brothers to marry Agnes, and it just doesn't sit well with him. He slams his fist in annoyance. Back at the palace, Sirius Melville unexpectedly arrives, inviting Agnes as his partner to the prom. He claims it's to repay Agnes for helping his mother, but she sees right through it. The Marquess definitely put him up to this. Still, a convenient solution is a convenient solution. She accepts. Sirius, initially indifferent, suddenly notices how captivating her eyes are. Oh no, is this how it starts? And with that, the National Foundation Day draws near. At the Grey Estate, Benjamin and Bradley eagerly anticipate meeting the princess. One of them might just become her husband. Well, at least, that's the dream. Meanwhile, their mother worries. If the rumors from the Marquess's party had spread, she'd be socially ruined, and maybe even divorced. Thankfully, Agnes prevented that, but she's still on edge, especially with Kylo keeping them waiting. At the Grand Prom, Princess Agnes arrives with Sirius Melville, their matching light purple attire shimmering under the lights. The entrance is dazzling enough to leave the Grey brothers scrambling to find Kylo, their way to get close to the princess. Whispers circulate. Some admire Agnes's simplicity and others think it's sheer confidence. And Sirius? He's living for the attention, convinced he's the main character tonight. Then, a certain comment catches his ear about Lord Spencer being truly done for. His gaze lands on Raymond, standing with Hazel Devon. Sirius politely sends him a smile, only for Raymond to pointedly ignore him. Intrigued, Sirius muses that despite Raymond's reputation, he never knew how to make a woman happy. If he were in Raymond's place, things would have been different. Sure, buddy, sure. While Sirius is basking in his own magnificence, Agnes is mentally sulking about Kylo's absence. After their dance, the girls swoon over Sirius's devotion, sparking a heated debate. One even suggests a dance with her brother to make him forget about the saints, only to be met with outrage. The audacity! Agnes is not a matchmaking pawn! Bored, Agnes spots something far more entertaining, a standoff between Hazel and Saint Liliana. Naturally, she sneaks over. Eavesdropping behind a pillar, she listens as the saint accuses Hazel of stealing Raymond. Hazel, unfazed, warns her to watch herself. Ah, nothing like a good love triangle meltdown. Just then, Sirius finds Agnes. Before he can say anything, she silences him with a hand to his mouth. The sudden touch? A little too effective because now, Sirius is blushing.
So guys, what do you think of the story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!